I know I'm late to the conversation, but I found out about it late. I don't know how I missed it, but everybody's been arguing over if they'd rather be left in the woods with a man or a bear. It's a thing that started on TikTok, but then everybody's been putting their 2 cents in all across the internet on different platforms. And it's been interesting because I think it originally got posed to women. Would you rather be alone in the woods with a random bear or a random man, right? And I think people were astonished at how many women picked bear because it was a lot. I've actually seen very few videos that weren't bear. Which is shocking. It's like, I don't know, it took me aback. And a lot of dudes on the internet got very upset. They got so angry that they were like, why would you pick a bear? Why wouldn't you be, what, are you out of your mind? Are you stupid? Why wouldn't you want to be left alone with a random man, you stupid bitch? I don't understand what I'm doing right now. You know? And I'm not gonna lie, I was like, I don't know how in my feelings I was about it, but I was shocked. I was just like, oh, wow, geez. And then you actually hear people talk about it. You actually hear, women say like, well, the worst thing that, a bear is gonna do is either attack you or leave you alone, right? A man could do so many worse things to you, And then there was one woman, and I think her sentiment was like echoed around all of social. It's just like, she basically said, at least if I got attacked by a bear, people would believe me. Which I was like, ooh. When I heard it, I was like, ooh. Oof. Where do you go from there? What do you do next? What do you say to that sort of thing, Because it is true. It's a terrifying truth. It's a very sad truth. If somebody got attacked by a bear and ran up to you, you wouldn't be like, nah. Nah, you good. Like, just, it made me question as guys, because the women were saying men could do all different types of things, right? Bear could just attack or not attack, right? And it made me wonder, like, as guys, what are we doing that women would rather pick a bear? They'd rather risk their entire life than to be left alone with us and like hear about a podcast. It's rough stuff. I don't know if y'all saw this this Chiefs kicker. This is when it pays to be a sports fan, because I don't even need to explain all of it. But basically, in case you didn't see it, there was a kicker for the Chiefs who gave a commencement speech at a school that, I don't know, maybe he went there. Maybe that's why they wanted him. Seems like kicker is like pretty low on the list of who I want to bring to my school to sit, because this is like the last speech your kids are going to get at education before you send them out into the world, And he gets up there, and at first it didn't seem to be like that weird of a speech. I saw people were messaging me about it, and I was like, what did he say? As I was watching it at first, I was like, what did he say? He's like, oh, just be a strong man, take care of the people around you, have good values, all stuff like that. And then I kept watching. Because at first I was like, man, what's everybody been out of shape about? And then I kept watching, and then he was like, and to all the ladies here, I'm paraphrasing. To all the ladies here with your little degrees, go ahead and have a baby or your life is meaningless. Like he didn't. He didn't really say that, but it's how people felt. And it's pretty crazy because I looked him up afterwards because I was just like, the weird thing about him is that because he's the kicker, you know he really feels this way. He has the least CTE on the team. These are his true and present values. But then I looked him up, and apparently his mom is a physicist. Which, I don't know. I mean, I guess, to a certain degree, he's working something out there. Like, if your mom's a physicist, I can't imagine how many times in your life you've been corrected. Yeah, I mean, maybe that's what it is. Maybe he's like, I just want a woman who won't talk to me and be right. Yeah, I mean, because his mom is a physicist, and he's a kicker. Which means every time he misses, his mom... his mom can tell him exactly how off he was. I want to tell you a journey that I've had. I have become invested, captivated by one-star reviews. Because this is my thing. Look, if you got 1 star as a company, you should be closed. But I guess legally not enough has happened where somebody had to come close you. So the public is taking it upon themselves to warn each other, hey, this place, no. Because when you see a 1-star review, this thing, 5-star review is like, wow, I had a great experience. I want to support this business. I actually also want to make sure other people have as good of a time as I had, so I'm going to spread the word with a 5-star review. 4 stars is like, okay, I had a good time, but there are a couple things they can improve. Let me let the business know. 3 is unnecessary. Like, 3 is the 3 to me is insane, because 3 is you taking the time to go, meh, and it's like... That feels like psychotic behavior to me. I've never left a 3, all right? I've never left a 3. I go full 5 or 1. I either try to spread the gospel or warn my friends. 2 is like something happened. 2 is like, look, I would do a 1, but someone there was so sweet that I want to acknowledge how great they were. Because you'll notice a lot of 2-star reviews have something positive in them to a point where I'm like, why isn't this a 4-star review? And then you get to the end and it's like, but there was blood everywhere. And you're like, oh, okay. All right, I got you. So hospitality check, wonderful environment check, but lots of blood in the bathroom. I see why you have a 2 now. I see you were trying to give props, you're trying to be fair. I personally have never read a 1-star review that I didn't wish was longer. One time I was just chilling with Logan and I was reading him 1-star reviews that were making me laugh, and I can't remember what the business was now. I'm blanking on the business, but I think it was like a seafood place. It was like a crab shack. And then there was a 1-star review that just said, this place is a chair. No. Legally, you should have to keep typing. Don't just leave that. I don't know what that means. You can also tell, because some businesses, this is a different, look, I'm digressing, but this is a different point. But you can tell when a business, especially a restaurant, is nasty, not just when it has low reviews, but when it acts like a dude on a dating app. You know what I mean? Like they'll be taking pictures of the food, but the pictures of the food too close. Like it's not a picture of the food on the plate, it's just a picture of 3 pieces of rice with some peas in the corner, and you're like, that's too close to the food. That means the plate is dirty. A 1-star review is a testament to an experience, you know? I live in New York, so there are a lot of 1-star reviews of a lot of businesses that will never close because they're either fronts or they own the building, so they don't have to worry about rent. But there was my favorite is when a place is permanently closed, but you can still read all the information. Like they haven't shut down the website and the Google reviews are still there. And there was a funeral home. There was a funeral home that had a 1-star review, and I was like, this is my afternoon. Thank you, Google, for picking up the slack. Like I said, every 1-star review leaves you wanting more. There was a 1-star review that just said, they lost my daddy. We don't know where or how long or... They lost my daddy in all caps. 1-star review as a whole is incredible because it means that everyone's experience has been similar, right? Like you'll see places with like a 3.0 and you'll see it really breaks down to like half 1s, half 5s, right? It just depends on the day, what kind of service that they get. 1-star review means everyone agrees, right? And the thing about a business having a 1-star review that blows my mind is I used to live in Chicago. And when I lived in Chicago, I didn't know you could just start a Yelp or a Google review for a place you didn't own. So someone had started like a Google review for Cook County Jail. Cook County Jail as a whole had 2 stars. And it's honestly hard to, like, I've read most of them, right? And one of them was 1 star, right? 1 star. And it just said, the guards are so mean. And then under it, because you know, if you're the business, you can comment under it. So then under it, they were like, you were in jail. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm on the formerly incarcerated person's side because they didn't refute it. They were just like, this is what we do here. Oh, it was amazing. It was amazing. There was a 4-star review for Cook County Jail. It's like, I stayed here, wasn't the worst, wasn't the best, but I did it. And that's a very objective person. That's somebody who's like, well, I did my crime, and this is as jails go, it's pretty good. Like yeah, I mean, I don't want to see the business go under. Let me go ahead. Oh, it's incredible. I remember when I started looking at salons, because I go to salons now. I used to go to barbershops, and you know, trying to make that transition, I was just looking up Google reviews for places, and I got taken on a beautiful journey because all these places, especially like anybody knows who is like trying out a place for the first time. Like when you go to get your hair done, you're really putting your life in somebody else's hands. And that's all of us, whether you're going to a barbershop, salon, whatever. Because I've got bad haircuts before. I've got haircuts that left me looking like... They just left me looking like I don't know how to take care of myself, and now I gotta wait till my hair grow back a little bit to look even again, you know? I went to the website of this salon, and I saw all the like beautiful designs of the braids that they do, the variety that they do and everything. So then I went to the bottom of the website and it says, we're currently not taking clients, right? Which happens sometimes. But I went to their Google just to check if maybe they don't update the website, because I was like, let me call because maybe something's changed, right? When I get to their Google profile, I just go ahead and I'm like, let me look at the reviews just to check, because all this stuff is beautiful in the picture, but these could be Google images. So I'm reading lots of 5 stars, lots of 4 stars. Overall, they have a 4.7 as a business. So I'm like, they're crushing it, right? I do see a 1-star review. And I'm like, well, let me... Because you don't want to count out a 1-star reviews experience, because that means that whatever happened, as long as they're not lying, whatever happened, happened. And it could happen to you, right? So I'm reading it, and it's like, staff was so rude, I booked an appointment. They were trying to act like they didn't know who I was, and they sent me out, right? And I was like, wow, that seems weird. Because the business can comment underneath their comment. The business said, Chandra, you need help. Chandra, you need help. You tried to fool us and showed up as if you had an appointment, even though it says on our website we are not currently taking clients. You said that you talked to someone that we don't employ about an appointment and then sat in the chair demanding. I was like, fair enough, wow. That's amazing. I guess you can't trust every 1-star review, but wow. I tried to go and they were not taking clients. Like I had a very similar experience to Chandra. I was just like, it's like, I don't know, what if I tried? I don't know, maybe I could be slick. And they were like, sir. Hey friends, I was actually off the road last weekend, so we're still dropping an unreleased set, but stay tuned afterwards because I'm going to be answering some of your questions from the internet. And if you have other questions that I don't get to, you can drop them in the comments. And if you have any questions at all, just keep being cool to each other. See you in a bit. I've also been obsessing over that lady on TikTok who was digging in her yard and found that rug. Like, in case you didn't see this, there's a woman that was on TikTok, right? And this will be important later, but she's white, all right? And basically, she was making TikToks for like her fans and her friends and stuff. And in one of her TikToks, she she comes onto the TikTok and she's like, y'all, I think my house is haunted. Okay? And then she starts giving her reason, and she does a little tour of her office where all these things are moved that aren't supposed to be moved. She's like, I'm the only one that comes in here, and this is here, and it's usually up here, and then this is moved over here. And then when I opened my laptop, the laptop was like cracked from the inside. Like and you could see it. It was like corrupt, like it looked like ink had been spilled. It was so shattered on the inside, right? And she was like, I don't know. I think I have a ghost. And in my head, I'm watching this, and I'm just sort of pulling from life experience. I'm just kind of like, you ain't ever been robbed before? Like, And so then, another TikTok she makes after that is she's digging in her yard. I think they're moving a fence or something. And then they hit something. And then they look at what they hit. And it's like this rug that's been buried underground, right? And it's a thick rug, too. And then she's like, making a TikTok being like, isn't this weird? And I was like, that's a body. That's clearly a body, okay? And then this is the thing. When it comes to every person has different speeds that they operate at, right? You catch them on one day, they might react to you a certain way, another day a certain way. But some people do have like defaults, right? So one thing that's happened in the last like 4 years especially is that anytime a white woman's talking, we jump to Karen pretty quick, right? Like, there's Karens out there, but then sometimes someone will just have a menu and be like, does this one have gluten? And we're like, Karen! Like, that's... It's appropriate when it's appropriate, it's not appropriate when it's not appropriate, right? But for everything, there is its opposite, okay? And I think that for us, we do need to start talking about the complete opposite, because we all know this person. We all know the white woman who doesn't want to make a big deal out of anything. We've all met this person. She could literally be on fire. And she's like, y'all, I'm just warm. Like, no. You are in danger, Bethany. Let us help you. You know what I mean? Like, she could call you. She could call you in the middle of a robbery. She's at the bodega. It's getting robbed right now. And she calling you being like, oh, no, I don't want to bother her. Just if you get around to dialing those, like, 3 numbers, it would be really helpful. And this is who we have on our hands in this situation, because I'm not the only one, right? I see the thing and I'm like, that's a body. And then everyone else in the comments is like, girl, that's a body. And this is the thing about internet comments in general, right? At best, almost all the time, random comments on the internet are at least not helpful. They're at least not doing anything for you when you read them, or when you posted them, they're not actually good feedback. I mean, like, it happens a lot, especially because the internet's just out for everybody, Especially on a place like TikTok. People stumble onto your stuff and then they just comment on it, whatever they think. It might have nothing to do with what you're talking about, Like, as an example, years ago, I bought some nunchucks. And I was watching a tutorial on how to nunchuck. And the dude's tutorial was good. He wasn't hitting himself at all. He knew exactly what he was doing, right? But then I went down to the comments to see if it was as helpful to other people as it was to me. And none of the comments had anything to do with nunchuck. The top comment was like, support the troops. And it's like, sure, but how'd you get that from this? So for all of her comments to be like, girl, that's a body, I think you should listen. She made another TikTok where she was like, another really weird thing that happened was that my stepson was like going to bed and he went to plug in his phone. And when he woke up in the morning, instead of the phone being on 100%, it was on 3%. And you know how ghosts can suck up energy? I'm like, no, we're past this. It's a body. And once again, she was doing that white woman thing, trying to not make a big deal because, guys, I don't think it's a body. She says, I don't think that it's a body. I'm like, you think it's a ghost. It being a body helps your thing too. Every ghost used to have a body. Why are you acting like we're the dumb ones? And so then she makes another TikTok where she's like, okay, y'all, I called the police. And it's funny because she describes like calling the police and stuff. And when she called the police and told them the situation, I was digging in my yard and I was trying to move this fence. I hit the rug, whatever, and the rug's very thick. We can't just, because that's the other thing. She can't just pull it up. It's so heavy that it's like, it's down there. She would have to dig more to even expose more rug to even try to pull it up. And she tells the police that, and the police are like, that's not like a body. And so the police come out, right? And I am not a cop. I don't know how police work actually works. I don't know what procedure is or anything. All I know is what I saw in the video, because she was also making a TikTok out of the police coming and checking out the hole. And the police, when they got there, I don't know what exactly they were doing, but they were doing that thing where, you know, like when they have their hands in their vest? And so there was one cop that walked up and he was like, that might be a body. So police look it over, because cops came twice, right? Police look it over. Then, part is fuzzy. I don't know what actually happened linking these two things. I don't know if the police said this to her before they left, or if they called later and told her this, but basically they were like, look, it's a hole. I get that you're invested and that it's the rug, but we don't have the resources to just like do some big dig in your backyard for a case that's like not an open case or anything. There's not like some missing person or something. So we just, if you want to dig, if you want to dig and then call us if you find something, you can, but like, we're not gonna. And I mean, look, in this case, it was just the rug. It's not like a foot was hanging out or something, you know what I mean? And so then that was sort of that. And so she makes another TikTok where she talks to people and she's like, hey, listen, I know that y'all are all invested. I know that this is weird, but I don't have the money to just dig up my whole backyard just to try to find out what this is. Because in the case that it's nothing, I dug up my whole backyard and then I have to pay to, because it was also like going in the direction of her fire pit too, which means she would have had to pull up all that stuff. So she was like, I don't know. I don't know where this sort of leaves us, right? And she makes another TikTok not too long after that. Because what has happened through social is that we're all talking. We're all talking, we're all, like, listening's a strong word, but we're all talking. All right? But you gain the interest, and you can intrigue people from all over the world, right? And so as people are getting more and more invested in this thing, she makes another TikTok a little while later, where basically someone was watching her last TikTok about how, yeah, she didn't have the money to just dig up her whole yard and everything. And so then they messaged her and they were like, hey, I own a construction company. I'll dig. I will not be left on a cliffhanger, all right? Digging is what I do. And so then, you know, the next TikTok is her basically being like, hey, this person with this construction company said that they would come over and dig and help me figure it out and everything. So go ahead and tune back in, 4:30 Eastern Standard Time. I'm gonna go live and we'll find out together. This is what's really jarring about that, right? Is that TV used to be TV. You used to get your entertainment from TV, and TV was a thing. You used to buy the TV and know that all the TV would happen on TV. But now, slowly, over time, we're TV. Whether we mean to be or not. There's plenty of people who have realized they were TV in real time and been like, I messed up. I did not want to be TV today.
You know, TV used to, we're spoiled. You know, we're used to 24-hour news. We're used to 24-hour programming, even pay programming. When a channel runs out of TV ideas, they're like, well, we'll let this person try to sell you something for 3 hours. You know what I mean? TV used to just have a few channels, too. TV used to have like 5 channels. And they didn't even have a lot of ideas. The TV would be like, guys, we're done. TV, you would have your TV on, but TV would be off. Because they were just, they just didn't have any more programs. They were like, you know what it is. We'll see you at 3 o'clock tomorrow. Go to bed. What are you doing up? Why are you still up right now? You have a problem. You need to see somebody, a doctor maybe. You probably have insomnia because you have left this TV on all night knowing that the Dick Cavett show only goes so late. And I didn't know about any of this. My grandpa was telling me, you know what I mean? But like, he was like, yeah, you used to, you know, that used to be how you knew you had a sleeping problem. And now, you know, she's opened herself up to the fact that like this incident has made her TV. She even said, tune in at 4:30 Eastern Standard Time. I was like, you have commercials too? Damn. And then soon after that, she makes another TikTok where she's like, okay, so I got a call, construction company calls, but I got another call from Homicide. And a part of me was like, duh, it's a body. But she's like, I got a call from Homicide that basically they said that they don't know who the last 2 officers were communicating with because it wasn't them. They must have talked to somebody else who told them to tell me what they told me. Homicide heard about the case and they were like, we would very much like to check. That's like our whole job, to check if that's a body. And so we're gonna come tomorrow and they basically tell her, they're like, hey, if we find something, this will turn your house upside down. Are you prepared for that? And she was like, yeah, I want to get to the bottom of this thing. It's been like on my mind and, you know, we're not just curious. It's like, this could potentially be terrifying, you know? And so they're like, okay. And if we don't find anything, then you're free to let the construction company dig and just see, like, get to the bottom of what maybe is dinosaur bones, who knows, right? So next day comes, and she says in the TikTok, she's like, look, so still tune in at 4:30 Eastern Standard Time, but I don't know what you're gonna be watching. So sure enough, Homicide comes, they bring the detectives, they also bring the cadaver dogs, right? And both cadaver dogs signal at the spot in the rug, right? And they even did in different ways, because I don't really know, I don't know much about cadaver dogs. All I know is that the first dog, he seemed a bit junior. Do you know what I mean? That first dog was just a little too happy-go-lucky. You know what I mean? Like he really showed up and was like, oh, what a beautiful day. It's wonderful to just be in a yard and be able to run around, stretch your legs, and hang out with your friends and stuff. Oh! Y'all, this is just my opinion. I think that's a body. Second dog comes out, must have been more senior dog. They must bring 2 just to make triple sure, you know what I mean? Because second dog comes out much calmer, at least to me. Just, had more of a dignified gait to his walk. Walking around. Yep, that's a body. Ooh, y'all, come get me. That's a body. And it's got to be tough. It's got to be tough to be like a police dog because you don't know you have a job. Think about a police dog, just a dog. They think they're chilling. They think their life is normal. They only have like wild reactions once in a while, you know? Like I wonder what it would be like to take a police dog to like just the dog park. Have him converse with other dogs and stuff. Running around. That house dog is like, hey, how you doing? Looking good, you know. I love a pup in uniform. Oh, this? Oh, yeah. I wear it all the time. That was, you know, you come to this park often? Oh, yeah, every day. Every day, me and my pal come here, and then, you know, we lets me run around, and then we walk home, and then he feeds me treats, and I take a nap, and the police dog's like, nap? What's that? Oh, you know, when you just get tired and you fall asleep whenever you want. And it's like, okay, must be nice. You know, and you said your owner gives you treats. What kind of treats? House dog's like, oh, all the treats. It's incredible. I get like the beef treats and the chicken treats. I go crazy for the tuna treats. I try to play it cool, but I can't. They're too good. You know, sometimes I'll play hard to get, but then I'm a sucker for the tuna treats. Do you get treats? And police dog's like, yeah, I get treats all the time. What kind of treats do you get? Police dog's like, mostly cocaine. You know, because I'm one of the dogs that they have sniffed for the cocaine, and so I'm running all in the house checking for the cocaine. I usually get there first, and so you know, sometimes I take a little off the top, you know what I mean? A couple of extra sniffs. You know, it's gotta be wild. It's gotta be wild to think as a police dog, you're just going for a walk. And they're like, smell this. Oh, okay. See what else smells like this out here. You're like, oh, all right. You just on nice stride, you know, running with your pal, and then out of nowhere you're like, something over here smells like, oh my gosh, that's a body. So both the cadaver dogs signal, right? And when they signal, you know, she's like, oh my gosh, like, you know, she's really taken it back. And I think that's also the first time that this becomes like real, because I think, you know, I can't say what was going on in her head, but I can imagine that like at the time you're just kind of going through the motions and having your own little true crime thing. But then when there's really something there and it becomes real, like, oh, this is terrible. This is terrifying. And then the police even come over and they're like, hey, you might want to stop recording. And so she makes another TikTok hours later where she's like, hey, I'm sorry I left y'all on cliffhanger. You know, police were like, hey, maybe you want to stop recording. So I stopped recording and everything. But yeah, there's just people all over my house and stuff. And it was just like, I think it was all hitting her at once. And it must have been overwhelming, you know? And she's even saying to the camera, she's like, and the police, you know, they appreciate the fact that I'm the one that called them and stuff like that. So it's not like they're looking at me or anything. I was like, nope. Call a lawyer. 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 Call a lawyer now. Put the phone down and call a lawyer. Don't talk to me. Call a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. Stop talking to me. Call a lawyer. That's a lot to assume. That's a lot to assume. Hey, guys, I just found this body. Like, I have nothing to do with it. You know? And it's got to be tough. Like, I really did try to put myself in her shoes. You know, it's got to be horrific to find something like that, what it might be, all that stuff. I think about what what any of us might do. You know what I mean? Maybe not make a TikTok about it, but like what any of us might do. Like I think about what I would do. I'm a homeowner. I'm digging, I'm moving my fence, you know, and then hit this rug. A rug, by the way, that had a tree planted on top of it. I think about what I would do, right? As Josh, and even more importantly, maybe as like a black dude in America. I'm not gonna lie, I think I'd be like, yeah. I didn't kill him. You know? So then they like properly excavate and they do a whole dig and it turns out it's not a body. Isn't it weird to be disappointed? Isn't it kind of weird to be disappointed that somebody's not dead? It's not a body at all. It was a rug that had a tree planted over it that was buried, which I'm not gonna lie is way weirder. That's so much more jarring now. There's so many more questions I have now. We understand, it's not right, but we understand how people get got. Like we kind of, like there's a part of you, maybe you're in the mob or something like that, but this thing is way weirder. That means that your house was previously owned by a freak. That just means that there was someone that owned your house that was burying rugs and planting trees on top. What else were they doing? Licking banisters? What goes through the mind of somebody who buried? What kind of witchcraft is that? I want answers. She gonna be retiling her roof years from now and there's gonna be a piece of bologna under every tile. What kind of cartoon house is this?
How do you balance weekly stand-up and a daily show?
You know, I work at Daily Show Monday through Thursday, and then we go on the road Friday, Saturday, and sometimes Sunday. And so I know that it's a lot, but it's also everything I've been trying to do this entire time. Like these are all the things that I've ever wanted to be doing, and they just happen to be happening at once. Another thing that really gives me energy, I guess, is the people that I'm around. I get to be around the coolest people that I've ever worked with at Daily Show that are constantly like, whether it's hyping you up or you're able to bounce ideas off of them, and their enthusiasm and the way that they bring like their specific talents to the show always make me excited to be a part of it. And then the rest is just doing stand up on the road, which is just meeting all of you and, you know, doing the meet and greets when we can and stuff. And those are real opportunities to get a second to chat, even if it is just a moment where, you know, I understand, especially a late show, people are tired and they want to take the picture and go home and stuff. I'm never like thinking about it some type of way. I guess I'm more just so excited to meet the people who enjoy what I'm doing, you know, because sometimes you are creating these things online and it's very easy to see a number of likes or a little ticker go up. And while those things carry their own sort of excitement of like, oh, that's cool that people are watching, it's not until you meet the people that are watching that you get a real sense of what's going on. And so I don't know, if I'm being honest, if I've thought about balance yet or anything. You know, I sneak in my naps when I can, and one day I will find time to sleep. But sometimes I will say I don't realize I'm asleep. I have definitely woken up and not been sure when I was sleeping. So I guess I get enough sleep.
How do you take care of your mental health?
I think I do lots of stuff. To me, I think you're constantly bombarded all the time with stimulus and with media. And I think that even though most of it is negative, the positive stuff there, whenever you open yourself up to it or whenever you focus on it, is just as overwhelming sometimes. You know, there are a lot of people out there talking about the good things happening in the world. And if you engage with that stuff as much as you engage with like mainstream news and being up to date on the latest horrible thing that's happening in every country, I think you can find the balance that's actually happening. Because it's true, all these things are happening at the same time. And I don't know, I think that centers me sometimes, that like as many bad things as there are that are happening, there are so many instances of us seeing like the good in people and the good in the world and stuff. And so that helps me take care of myself. I have people that I will sometimes message if I'm having a rough time, for any number of reasons, you know, just having those people really help. I think that therapy as well, depending on your version of it and what you found helps you the most, I guess depends on how often you lean on it. And so, yeah, I think therapy, I think engaging in as much positive media as I can. And I think, looking up specifically for news stories where something good is happening help me take care of myself.
Why are your tickets $400?
They are not. They're not. I cannot say this enough how much they are not. And because of how social works as well, no matter how many times you post that they're not, it may not reach the people who saw the thing. You know what I mean? Like we're all just missing each other because they're not at all. One of the reasons that you might see $400 tickets to my show are resellers. So I am trying to make sure everybody can come to the show. I'm trying to make sure that all the tickets are affordable, right? But if someone buys up a bunch of tickets and then they go to the secondary market and they wait until the show is sold out and then they try to sell it to people who want to come to the show but missed it, they're going to charge whatever they think they can get, right? So while it's $400 in this economy, $400. I am not asking that of anybody. $400 is too much money, okay? I can't sing. Yeah, I mean, like we're not talking about tickets to like somebody who can do backflips or something like that. Resellers are charging these astronomical prices, which is why I tell people to join my email list. If you join my email list, I will let you know when I add shows. I'll also let you know when shows are happening. You'll also get access to pre-sale in some of the markets because we try to email everyone out. There's a whole thing that I'm learning about how like Venue have pre-sale tickets and days, and everybody has a certain amount of tickets that they're allowed and stuff like that. But as soon as we can go to you with the ticket, we try to go straight to you. So that way the email is coming from me and then you can get the ticket at its intended price, and we completely cut resellers out of it. Sometimes I even lose words for how best to describe how bad of a thing this reselling is, because it cheats you out of money and it cheats a lot of people out of an experience, you know? Because let's just, for the sake of argument, say the reseller buys my ticket and they're charging $2,000. And then people are like, Josh, love you, nice little quips, nice little witty jokes online, but $2,000, no. Now, somebody who was willing to pay the like $35, $45 that I was charging for the show doesn't get to come. And then this reseller is blocking people from having a good time at the show, you know? So my tickets are not $400. If you see that, you know, not only don't you buy it, but also feel free to warn other people, hey, this thing is not real, you know? So hopefully I've spoken about it well. Hopefully.
Where is your hour-long Netflix special?
It doesn't exist, but I think maybe it could one day. We'll see. The reason I do stand-up is to connect with the people that I'm doing stand-up for. And that's been happening through social, through YouTube, through like live performance as well. So I feel like the connection is there, and it's getting stronger, and it's growing. And so I don't concern myself as much with like, oh, when are we going to get this thing, or can we get this person on the phone or something? Because to me, all things happen as they're supposed to in the right time. And so if there is a day that comes that I have an hour-long Netflix special, then the day that that comes will be the day that it comes out. Until then, I'm having a great time posting and writing as much as I can, and just sort of putting that stuff out there.
Can you go deeper into your writing / performing process?
Yeah, so I guess I don't know. I could talk about it all day. So I'll try to give like some bullet points. I think when you're writing about anything, in my experience, I think taking the things that you find funny about them and the things that you find interesting about them and believing in them are going to be ways that you connect people to the thing it is that you're talking about. Not everything is interesting, and maybe everything can't be made interesting by a specific person. But I think if there's any like gold that you actually find in something, someone else will connect with that. I think the missing connective tissue sometimes is belief in the thing that you're talking about, and it's in a full understanding of what you're trying to say. And so whenever I'm writing anything, I'm trying to make sure that I'm fully distilling the idea down enough that if you don't know me, and if you don't know what I'm like, and if you've maybe even never watched stand-up before, you'll still get what I'm trying to say. And I think that is one of the main things I look for in what I'm talking about and how long I want to talk about it. And then I think that sort of all of life informs other pieces of it. So if I may be talking about one thing that has nothing to do with any of the other topics I bring up in my mind while let me see, now I'm rambling. Hold on. If you choose a topic to talk about, right, it may seem incredibly isolated. It may seem like one of its kind. But because of how long humans have been around, and because we have cyclical behavior, it's not. So no matter what the thing is, there's something like it that has happened before, even if it's only in spirit. And so I think that as soon as you pick something to talk about, you can find things that are similar to that thing, that maybe someone might not understand thing A that you're talking about, but they've experienced thing B. And if thing B is a universal enough experience and you link it back to A, then I think that you can in turn at least give people the option of seeing what you're trying to say. And that's just one way to do it. I think that the other way is like take the thing that is your topic that's most important to you and breaking it down on every level. At some point with those layers, people will start to see what you mean. Whether or not they agree is like completely up to them. And luckily for stand-up, you don't really need anyone to agree with you. You just need them to be enjoying what you're saying and find it funny. Some things that we find funny are because of agreement, and some things that we find funny is because of the absurdity of it and how much we disagree. And so I think that in those ways, you don't really need to have the way a lawyer does an iron tight argument. You more just need to have all of your points built out and know exactly what you're trying to convey. And then that will be the link between you and the people that you're sharing with. I think that, yeah. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you so much. I look forward to seeing you on the road when I come to your city. Make sure to join the email list. It's at joshjohnsoncomedy.com. And I look forward to making more videos for you in the future. You know, I really love what I'm doing right now, and you're part of why I love it so much. Yeah. Till next week. So when I swing my legs, are you getting that? No. Oh, you're not? Okay. that would be my undoing, because they're nowhere near. And it's like, it's hard to take a man seriously when they're swinging like this, because it's a natural thing. Like if they were on the ground, they would be planted enough that it wouldn't be a big deal. But because they're so free, because my knees are really off the edge, there is a dangle that's not only a bit dainty, it's a bit whimsical too. It's not the right vibe to try to be.
The shoes are also Velcro too, so that.
Yeah, okay. These actually aren't my normal shoes. I wore these because I lost my shoes. And so I'm still looking for my real shoes. But then until then, I have these on, and everyone has been looking at me like I need help. I have not encountered anybody in a store or on the street that has seen my shoes and not been, let's just say, extra nice to me. Dangling in Velcro shoes, it's not the look for a grown man. You know what I mean? Like, this is when I tell you, I'm positive that this is like a walking ick. Yeah, like this is bad. So I was also not happy about it, because I literally asked my girlfriend, hey, do you know where my shoes are? Which is one of the most insane questions you can hit a person with, because your shoes should have been left by you somewhere nearby. But I did not know where my shoes were, and I haven't worn these in maybe a year. I don't even know where they came from. I really don't. Like, maybe I bought them, but I feel like they were a gift, and not just a gift, but like a re-gift. Like, I think they were given to someone my size, and then that person was like, nah, I can't keep these in the house. It's better than not having shoes. I'm grateful to have more than one pair of shoes, but I'm also praying I find my real shoes soon, because, ugh.
The main shoes, they're what, on?
On Clouds, yeah.
When are you going to get an endorsement? I mean, you have those on every show, every stage, all over the country.
That's up to On Cloud. I wear them because they're comfortable. But an endorsement would be nice. That would definitely buy some more On Clouds. Yeah, they might as well endorse me. I would just give the money back to them almost immediately in On Clouds.
York, Pennsylvania, please make it loud for Josh Johnson!
I've thought a lot this week about how, like, family can be chosen. Like, you have your family, you have your family, your people you grow up with and everything. But along the way, you find people who you really connect with. You choose them, and they choose you, and everything. Because the family that you're born into, I'm not saying there isn't massive value in making everything work with your family that you possibly can. I'm just saying that, like, sometimes, look, they're your first crack at, like, relationships. Do you know what I mean? Like with most people, especially with the big family, if you line them up together, you'd be like, all right, if y'all didn't already know each other, I'm not sure you'd be hanging out. Like, I got cousins that I love dearly, but, like, I don't know. They're like athletic. And then I show up with a Rubik's Cube, but they're like, very cool, very cool. Now, you can tell somebody's not into what you're into when they talk to you all slow like that. When they're like, that's awesome, bud. That is fantastic. I like that you are into that. Wow. Oh, I've been hit with wows in my life. Sometimes you get someone that even if you weren't related, if y'all had met, you would have linked up perfect, like understand each other.
that real bond, right? And you have the benefit of actually being family, so you get even more time with this person. Like I look at, tell you about Nikki. Nikki was a kid back down south, very big kid, but not like big, just tall. I say big, but I mean tall. He was too tall. He was too tall of a person. It was too much. It was like cartoonishly tall. He was that type of tall where everybody asked him if he played basketball. You know that? You know that type of like, I mean, you're just so, do you just love playing basketball? As if it's a requirement to stay that tall. That you gotta start putting in hoop time if you're gonna stay this tall. It's such a funny question. I've never been asked if I play basketball for my height. It's just such a funny question because I can imagine what's going through the mind of a tall person when they're getting that question because it's such a thirsty question from a short person. They're like, do you play? I mean, you must. Like, you have to. Like, you need this. I need this. I need you to play. Why can't just do it? I feel like that desperation is because you know that they could touch it. It's like you could touch the rim so easy. You have to touch it for both of us. You have to play. I don't know what the rim feels like. Just please play. I need this. But Nikki was Nikki was tall, but he was as tall as he was clumsy. He was that type of person you would ask to grab something from the top shelf for you, and then as he's grabbing it, you know, he's got the height, but he didn't have the grip. So he really just knocks something down off onto your head. You about to thank him too. You looking up. Thank you so much. And so him playing basketball was a disaster. He was very clumsy. And it was insane to watch. Like, I give him a little bit of grace because, like, when he would dribble, the ball did take too long to get back. Like, that's not all his fault. When I dribble, I'm right here. It's a frequent visitor, right? But when he would dribble, it'd just take forever to come back up, and by then he had already run away. Like, he could do that thing, though. He could do that thing where he could palm the ball. That was wild to watch. Just watch him grab the ball and hold it up like, look like a magic trick of being tall. And he was always getting, like, truly just, like, smoked on the court. Like, even his handles were terrible. You know, he tried to put it through his leg. It would hit his elbow on the other side. Never knew how much pressure to apply to the dribble. So instead of being over here, one, he's over here watching it fly away. And there was one day, I don't know what got into him, but there was one day he was making a drive for that net. You know, he wanted to, I guess, show off for somebody. And so he's running down the court, clearly traveling. There's no way he was ever gonna. And he's over here with, you know, got both hands on the ball, got the elbow out when people get close, you know, the weapons. And then this dude jumps for a dunk. He goes to dunk, and on top of being uncoordinated, on top of being a true waste of height, this young man has no strength in his ankles or calves. So when he jumps for the dunk and he flies forward, there's someone guarding him. And I think even that guy thought he was gonna fly over. Cause look, he didn't do a simple like jump up, you know, efficient dunk. He fully leg spread NBA logo. The problem is he's either pushed or made everybody else get out of the way up until this last person, this guy trying to finish just standing there, right? And because he got no air, because he jumped the height of his own shins, he simply flies into this man. He jumped into him. I've never seen a person jump into another person. Like he jumped into him like he thought he would go through and it, like he thought he would be him. He jumps. This guy's got his arms out and he jumped into him like it was the end of a war. Like they were finally reunited. This man, holding the ball in the air, just jumps forward, flies into this dude, and never in the history of street ball, I don't think anyone's ever seen anything happen like this. This man probably expected Nicky to fly over him, but when he just sort of kept coming forward at the height, basically the height he was already at, but with his legs spread. Never in the history of basketball on a public court has this happened. He flew in just trying to dunk, and then this man caught him. I need to show you then. He caught him. Caught him into his arms. Didn't fall backwards or anything, just straight up caught him because Nicky started jumping too far away, so he didn't have the momentum to knock somebody down. And then Nicky, this fool, still dunked. Still dunks. And then had the nerve to let go of the rim, putting all his weight back into this man's arms. Craziest part about it, he was still talking trash the whole time. He's still being held midair, talking crazy to everybody on the court. This man is up here. That's right, this is my house. Y'all get out the kitchen because I'm cooking right now. Can't nobody touch me. Sir, someone is touching you right now. So uncomfortable. And you know, Nicky was tall, he wasn't big or anything, but he was big enough to recognize that he was bigger than the people around him. And so he was somebody who truly fit that stereotype of like gentle giant, like didn't want to hurt anybody, didn't want to mess with anybody. In fact, his need to be gentle actually made him pretty easy to bully. Kids that were way smaller than him would give him a hard time, you know? And there was I'm sure, a bit of a fear taken up for himself because, you know, he didn't know what could happen. And so Nicky, very sweet, very easy to bully. You didn't have to worry about Nicky. You had to worry about his sister. His sister, first of all, his sister, not tall at all. Nicky got all the height in the family. But his sister would see somebody messing with Nicky, and she would come out of nowhere.
truly nowhere. There was this one time that this kid was pushing Nikki around, right? And then finally, Nikki had enough, and he pushed this other kid back, right? But then that kid, you know, when somebody's bigger than you, you figure they can take whatever. This kid runs back up, pushes him down as hard as he can. Nikki falls to the ground. We don't know where his sister came from. We don't know where she just came running. I need to be clear how, we didn't know where she came from because she didn't go to the same school. So when did you start running? Running. Then jumps in the air. We all give credit for that Sparta kick to the movie 300. But I had seen it years before. She got a running start, it jumped up in the air, and then foot first walked up this kid. Remember the movie Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, where they just sort of kick, and they never came down? Yeah. Oh. It is tough when you move out on your own for the first time and you're broke, but you're also young. Like, I had the benefit of being young and broke, so I didn't even realize how broke I was. I wasn't even aware it could not be like this. Because, you know, there's a different mindset. I can only speak for myself, but it seems like there was just a different mindset at the time for the sort of standards of my mom's house versus like what mine would be, because I was out on my own for the first time, so I was sort of setting them in real time, like setting these parameters. When you're out by yourself for the first time and you get your first place, this little studio apartment in Chicago, it's like anything. You could do anything, you know? You could put up both Fight Club posters. You could do whatever. You could get the main one and the variant right next to it. There's nobody to stop you. You know, I had an air mattress and everything. It was just starting out, and so there are some things that I think other people would have clicked right away. We should do something about it. It just didn't happen for me. Not in my head right away. Like, for instance, when I would have somebody over and my fridge worked, but it didn't work hard. Like, my fridge would do the fridge things, but just not all the things a fridge is supposed to do. I'd have somebody over, and then I'd offer them something to drink. I'd grab them something to drink, and I knew the cold spots of the fridge because the whole fridge wasn't cold, right? There were some, like the crisper was crispy. The crisper was perfect. Anything you really wanted to keep, you put in the crisper. But other stuff, you just had to be like, well, that's just a regular shelf. That's basically a cabinet shelf. And so I remember there was this one time that invited somebody over, poured them a drink, and then they asked for some ice, and I was like, okay. So my freezer doesn't make ice. Like, it doesn't. And what I meant was, like, my freezer didn't get cold. Like, my freezer was actually hot. Like, I don't know what coil was switched, but the top was hot. A regular fridge was fridge, but this over here was basically a microwave. And so I was like, oh yeah, it doesn't make ice in there. And they were like, oh, okay, do you have an ice tray? Let's just pour some water. I don't mind waiting. And I was like, oh, you thought I meant I didn't have an ice maker. Okay, so What I'm saying is that like it won't exist in there. Like it's too hot. Like that's why I don't have anything but bread in there, because it's very warm. And they weren't being rude, but they just sort of said it, I guess, as they were thinking it. They were like, you can't afford ice? And when somebody points something out to you like that, it does remind you where you are when you can't afford just certain temperatures. That's a level of broke. That's a breakthrough of broke, to not be able to afford enough coal near you. And so when you're in a situation like that, just like when I was on my own and was sort of getting my bearings around being out in the world and what things I needed to fix first, because I still need a bed. I finally got a bed, and when I got that bed, okay, first of all, got the bed off Craigslist, so don't. The frame. I say whole bed as if it's a whole bed because, you know, if you just got a mattress on the floor, that's a mattress on the floor. You can't call that a bed. So I got my bed frame off Craigslist and then, you know, bought a mattress and everything. That took some saving. For a little while, the air mattress was on the bed frame. Because if you didn't look too fast, it looked regular. But that bed frame, man, no wonder they were getting rid of it. Every time you sat down, you felt like you were hurting it. The entire time I had that bed frame, I'd be in my head thinking, like, why does my bed's back hurt so much? And every creak is just, it just sounds like you don't have your life together. You sit down after a long day of work and you hear, how am I gonna get any restful sleep with you complaining the entire night? I'd move my leg and the bed would do everything except scream. But when you're in a situation like that, and let's say you're even younger, let's say you're like Nikki and his sister, especially in the neighborhood that they were in. There's a lot of things coming at you, maybe faster than you know how to process. You know, you're in a neighborhood where there's gangs, where there's gang violence, and obviously, after the fact, people ask themselves, why would anybody join a gang? You know, why would anybody get involved? And it's a question that's more important to ask before anything happens. You know, after these decisions have been made, it's very easy to just be flippant about it. Why would anybody? Maybe this is somebody who's been beat up their entire life. The only time they don't get beat up is when they're with these people. For better or for worse, you know? Maybe these people aren't the best to have around, but at least I'm somewhat safe. It's a different type of danger hanging out with them. There's a present danger I know by being alone. You know? Maybe there's some sense of, this is the only way I'm gonna be able to make some money. These guys already know a way. These guys always have money on them. You know, there's a false perception that maybe this is the way. You know, they put a gun in your hand. I'm sure you feel powerful. They tell you run the block. I'm sure you feel powerful. It's not until something actually stops you that you realize you're not all powerful.
Like you look at a kid like Nikki, and it's not it's not like it is in the TV shows all the time, where there's just somebody seeking out, oh, that guy looks cool, I'll follow him around, maybe he'll let me join or something. Some people are coerced, some people are threatened. You live here, you see us doing work, maybe it's time for you to do some work. They recruit them. That's the thing that people leave out. They recruit them. And so maybe a kid like Nikki sees, though, this isn't it. I don't know what is, but this can't do this. So then a kid who almost never takes up for himself. A kid who's very gentle, although he's very tall. Waste of tall. Not using the tall right at all, but that's beside the point. A kid like Nikki gets approached, tells them, no, I'm good. I don't want to do that. I just live here. I'm not. And then it's his sister, of all people. It's his sister that also looks him in the face. Don't talk to my brother. You leave him alone. Right? Don't come near him. And when you're dealing with a gang, you're not dealing with a lot of reason behind decisions. But this kid who's known for being soft, telling you no like that to your face, and his sister backing him right up every time she sees you all around him, that won't do. You tell them no even after they start messing with you. And then it's someone like your sister that takes up for you. It's someone like your sister that tells them to their face, not as big as you, not as scary. You leave my brother alone. It takes a lot of bravery to do something like that. You leave my brother alone, knowing how dangerous they are. And then, maybe, one day, they decide to send some sort of message, right? And they pass your house, and they shoot at your house. But you're not home. Your sister's home, though. And those bullets that may have even been meant for you, whether they were meant to send a message or they were meant for you, they don't hit you. You're not there. They hit your sister. They took your sister. Do you see how a gang works? They'll take everything that they can as long as you let them. They'll do whatever they like as long as they feel like nobody can stop them.
Amen.
You know? I'll back up real quick. Being out on your own and broke, you have to decide what professionals you're going to spend your money on, because all the professionals you can't afford. So sometimes you got to go to a professional who says they're professional and doesn't feel very professional. Like, for instance, I require some things from a professional. Like, some of it may have nothing to do with their capabilities at their job. They're just things that make me uncomfortable. Like, I don't like when my professionals in some fields take cash. That makes me nervous. If you go to the doctor and you get done and they don't ask you about insurance or anything, they're like, all right, it's gonna be $250, so you can do 10s and 5s. I could break 100 if you need change. Some things you just want to have taken care of ahead of time so you can just enjoy the experience of being in the presence of a professional. I don't want my pilot to take cash. What if I don't have cash on me? Even like the nonverbals sometimes.
sometimes a professional will let their feelings escape, right? They won't be very professional. Just let it out as it happens. That is very jarring. It's terrifying. I don't ever want that to happen. Imagine you in court. You're in court, and then prosecutor says something, and then your lawyer turns to you and goes, "What's wrong with you? Everybody heard that. You couldn't keep that in?" No, because you know what it is whenever people, they're supposed to be professional, emote like that, it lets you know that they also don't know what's supposed to happen. Now we're living in chaos. GIB, if the people who are supposed to know don't know, if the people who were supposed to act some sort of way don't know how to act that way, now we're in chaos. Like now we're in chaos. Like now we're in chaos. And I remember one of the earlier times I felt like this was with my dad. I was in the car with my dad, and we got a flat tire. And he went to the trunk, grabbed the spare, changed the tire, and then the car wouldn't start. I'm not saying at 7 years old I knew how to change a tire. I was just confused why, after changing this tire, the car as a whole gave up. The car that was running before, and then you changed the tire. Here's the thing, I'm not a mechanic, not an engineer, but I look at tires like shoes. And if somebody's shoe fell off or wore down to the point they need another shoe, and then you gave them that shoe, and then they were like, "Oh, I don't walk anymore." I think you would be confused. I think it's fair that I was confused. I was like, all the wheels good. Maybe try it again. He's over here. Nothing. You know. So then he had to go into a store, find a phone, because this is, I'm like a 90s baby. I didn't have a cell phone for a long time. My dad didn't have a cell phone for a while. He had to go into a store and ask to use their phone to make a very embarrassing phone call. To call whoever he called to be like, "Yeah, I changed the tire." And now my car doesn't want to be a car anymore. And I remember I asked him, like, "What are we gonna do, Dad?" And in a moment of honesty, because to be fair, your parents are your parents. They're not professionals. They should be allowed to be human, But I asked him, "What are you gonna do, Dad?" And he was like, "I don't know, son." And I know I was little, but even looking back, I had too strong of a reaction. I was like, "You don't know!" That was a little too much. But in my mind, in my like little bit of life experience, I was like, "Uh-oh, we are stranded here then." What do you mean you don't know? And then someone came and they gave my dad a jump. Now, this is the first one I had ever seen. And once again, me being a kid, I didn't say it out loud, but in my head, I was like, that's not gonna work. Y'all just doing stuff now. Like this. Oh, you're gonna put the wire in the wire and the. And then it did work. And when it worked, to my credit, I was like, man, my dad's a genius. Who would even thought? You just wire up to another car and it'll be a car again. But yeah, that feels like where we are, where, do you know what I mean? Where there are people that are supposed to know, who even say that they know, but when they start telling you what they know, you realize they don't know anything. And that's very scary. That's terrifying. Sometimes I don't even know what press conference I'm watching and what it's about. I watched this, it was a press conference where there was a press conference where Marco Rubio wrote something down and slid it to Trump. And like, I don't know, man, I've never seen somebody so locked in to being evil and so checked out of life. Because this dude gets slid the note, and then there's no way Trump has an internal monologue. We must know every thought that comes through his head. Because Marco Rubio went ahead and passed him the note, and then he says out loud, you know, okay, do you remember in English class when your teacher made you like read Shakespeare, but then somebody in the class had to also read the stage direction just so everybody would know where we were at? Things that should clearly be in his head get spoken out loud. This dude gets slid the note and then says out loud, Marco Rubio just passed me a note. You gotta watch the video from the specific angle I'm talking about, because it exists. I saw it when it happened, but the other angle that's like centered on Trump doesn't do it justice. There's an angle that's like to the right of Trump, there's a camera, and you see where Trump says Marco Rubio just passed me a note, you see Marco Rubio go, and then Trump reads the note out loud for everyone. And that's, once again, maybe something he meant to do in his head and his mouth never stopped. Because then he's like, it says Chevron. Go back to Chevron. He read the note out loud at a press conference, I'm assuming, where they're talking about oil, and doesn't seem to know what this note means. Go back to go back to Chevron. All right. I'm surprised he didn't just keep talking. Like, go back to Chevron. Oh, I've never worked there. Interesting, okay. Like he so clearly did everything that should have been in his head. I'm surprised this man didn't grab the note. Marco Rubio just passed me a note, bend arm. It says, it says go back to Chevron. What does that mean, turnhead? And look, I don't even know if this is the same press conference because this is a different clip. There was a point where where I don't know if Trump was talking or somebody else was talking or if he was being asked a question, but he just got up from the table and looked out the door. This man over just, yeah, you know. Wow. That's gonna be the entrance to the ballroom. Sir, if you don't sit your Biden-built brain down, this is everything you said about Biden. Everything you doing right now. Every ounce of it was supposed to be what Joe Biden was like. This man tried to bully Joe Biden the entire campaign with the fact that the auto pen, the auto pen, the famous auto pen, he doesn't know what's going on. Somebody else is running the White House. It's like, all right, look, for all of his faults, Biden was never passed a note. He was never passed a note. It was like, Vice President Harris just passed me a note. No. No, it's insanity. No, it's so wild. Especially because we're how it all just feels especially insane that how this dementia is affecting all of us. Do you know what I mean? Like I've had people in my life that I love dearly have dementia, and it affected the family, not the country. Not, you know what I mean? Like it, if your great uncle starts grabbing the remote control for the TV and pressing buttons and putting it to his ear, that doesn't affect Greenland. You know? It's just, I don't know. Sometimes you just want to get the message out. Thank God the internet, for now at least, is like viewable by people from other countries that aren't near, because they can see us also be like,
Every day. Every day we wake up, and if you have a smartphone, you probably have your notifications on. Which is not, it's maybe wait. The stuff will be there eventually. You shouldn't wake up to the news. Give yourself a minute. Do you know what I mean? Because like you wake up and then you open your phone and there's all the headlines because the publications were working while you were sleeping, and they have a list ready to go of things to give you Marco Rubio face. There's a big flaw we have now in that the news by headline is like in your phone. It just hits your phone like that. You gotta turn your notifications off sometimes just for the sake of your mind, because you know I was checking the time. I just wanted to know the time, and now, uh-oh. Well, oh no, I was gonna travel. Looks like we're not friends with anybody anymore. It's devastating. You know? And then you see things like you see what happened in Minneapolis. Yeah. You see everything that happened, and it is it's sad and fascinating that no matter how many angles come out, no matter what people are watching, no one's really changing their position. And I think one of the main reasons is that there are many people that are trying to argue the legality, and everyone else is trying to argue the morality, you know? We're not speaking the same language about these things, which is one of the main reasons we're not getting anywhere. And I think that, look, if your entire moral compass is based on what the laws are currently at the time, I think that's a very weak compass, because all of the good that has ever come to this country and to people in general was through change. It was through adjustment. It was through figuring out what met the moment the best, you know? There's no, to me at least, there's very little good in just saying, well, that is the way it is. No. It's like, that's not enough. Every benefit to your life, every single benefit to your life came through some sort of change. The powers that be weren't just waking up one day and then thinking, oh, well, we probably should do a little better. Sadly, that's not how that sort of like arc of justice bends. It usually bends with pressure, you know? Trust me when I tell you that J.D. Rockefeller or, you know, Carnegie, any of these robber barons, they weren't laid up at night figuring out how to start a union. You know? All these things come with time. You know, you can make whatever legal argument you want to make. That is not what people are not arguing for some sort of like Section 3, Article 5 of some. They saw the video. You saw the video. And I personally think one of the reasons to argue the legality or to make the status quo your moral compass is because you're either not affected or you think that if you play ball, it won't come for you. It won't affect you, you know? And that's just not the case. Now we are where we are because they needed something. They passed this bill that is going to really devastate a lot of people. You know what I mean? They passed it a while ago, and they're hoping you don't remember. In fact, they're looking for something. They need something new. It can't be the old stuff because they said they fixed all the old stuff, right? So they need something new. You know, they passed this bill that lets AI companies off the hook, that rolls back a bunch of environmental protections, that slashes your health care, and they need something new, which is why they landed on Somali daycare fraud. No, you know Somali daycare fraud, the most lucrative fraud of all time. It is the fraud that... It's honestly the fraud that the world turns on the axis of. It is the most prevalent fraud that has ever existed. If only Walter White had known about Somali daycare fraud, it would have been a very different show. No, they need something new because they're hoping that you'll forget that they can't actually, and they don't have plans to, and the things that it would take they're not willing to do to improve your life. They're not going to do it, you know? They're all in the same pool, so they're not going to tax their friends, you know? So what can they do? Well, they can't improve your life. They can't do it, but they can make everybody else's life miserable. Like they could make everyone else's life worse, and then that's equality. Yeah. It's like when you're it's like when you're dating somebody that sucks, and then they are like, yeah, but other people suck too. You'll sit them down and tell them everything that you feel like they are doing wrong in the relationship, and they're like, everybody does that though. Like if it's not me, it's just gonna be somebody else forgetting your birthday. That's gonna happen. Because you see what happened, and you see how panicked they genuinely were. You know, they sent these guys out. I hate to burst anyone's bubble, but as a country, we are like broke. You know what I mean? We are like, because their bill also adds to the deficit. And we're very broke. And not the government, I should be clear. The people. The people. I know people think it's the same thing. But people from other countries, just so you know, it's not the same thing. You know, the country, as in the government, is doing fine. They just found a bunch of oil. It's the people. It's the people who are struggling. It's the people whose groceries prices and whose healthcare costs are skyrocketing. It's the people who have less to show for the work that they do, and it's the people losing their jobs, getting their government jobs slashed and getting let go from companies and everything. And so they need something. We can't afford, in the bill, $29 billion for ICE. We cannot afford ICE any more than I could afford ICE. I can't believe $29 billion. I mean, but this is my thing, I guess, is that you watch something like what's happening in Minneapolis, because it's not just one instance, it's not just one thing, you know? Because the same day that Renee Good lost her life, a high school in Minneapolis was pretty much just attacked by ICE, like pepper spray. They pepper sprayed kids, you know? You look at what happened in Chicago. They pulled kids out. They pulled all these people out of this building. It was just a show of force. It doesn't look like there were really any convictions out of that. It was pure harassment, you know? People talk about comply, comply. People talk about what is legal, but really think about what's moral. You know? I'll tell you right now, if you just sort of go with the flow, you go with the status quo, you just simply comply over and over again, you know, nothing really changes. Not a single thing. Because once again, the people who have everything don't really think about breaking you off a piece. That's just not how it works, you know? They weren't up at night figuring out, oh, you know, maybe a minimum wage would be good. You know? I'll tell you right now, if all you do is comply, if all you do is hope that things change or get better, but you go along with everything as it stands, it doesn't happen. If everyone that came before me had just complied and complied and complied, then I probably would have entered this theater, any theater, through a colored section. You know, every good thing you have in your life is a product of someone else's struggle. You know? You see everything that's happening. And it's not about what they say it's about. You know? People talk about coming over the right way, doing it the right way and everything. Meanwhile, the people that say that don't even actually know what the right way is. Not top to bottom. The people trying to do it know. But they don't even understand the significance of yanking people out of a hearing that's their immigration hearing that they showed up to do it the right way. You know? You're just jamming people up for the sake of doing it. Now, be clear here. It is not about Somali daycare fraud. Even the narrative building, even what happens next. Then the president makes a statement. There's no way he saw the video. And I'm not even saying that because I think that there's some like moral core to. I'm saying that because what he said, he was like, this officer was run over. He's lucky to be alive. She ran right over him. I mean, he basically exploded. And he had the wherewithal to put himself back together again. Reconstitute his body. Amazing stuff. No, you see how they paint this person immediately. You know, they need their narrative more than anything, because if the narrative falls apart, then everything is exposed. And if it's all exposed, you start to blame who's worth blaming. It's never been more important to know all of your rights, to know all of them. And you know, it's never been more important to know the difference between a judicial warrant and an ICE warrant. Like, a judicial warrant is something signed by a judge, and the judge signs it, and it means they can come in. Because the judge wrote the thing, we need to go get you. And a lot of times when they have a judicial warrant, they don't even knock. They just sort of come in. It's not really up for discussion. An ICE warrant is a thing that ICE wrote that they may show you, and it may even be part of narratives that happen for the future where, well, they had a warrant. Which warrant? It's important to know, because ICE having a warrant is like me writing myself a sick note. You know what I mean? I've done it many times. I've had to write my own doctor's note many times. And every time I gotta write my own doctor's note, the story, I do too much. The story's like unbelievable. Like usually a doctor's note is like 2 sentences because doctors don't even want to do it, but sometimes employers or schools require it. But then I would be doing, oh man, I'd be doing too much. I'd be like, oh, what a brave boy. I can't believe he's making it through, you know? Don't just go easy on him. Applaud him for his courage. It's very important that you understand what's happening and what could happen next as a result of it. So often, our lawmakers and even some of us with the best of intentions address things as they happen. We don't cut them off ahead of time. Like I watch the things that happen with ICE, and they're not cops. They're these federal agents that are there to kidnap and disappear people. That is the point. It's the entire reason that Renee Good isn't with us. And it is more than fitting that these people, that this administration would be the enemy of good. Like, you're watching it happen. And there's a sort of like collective trauma around it. Because it's just happening over and over again. It happens every time that you watch it. And I don't know, it reminds me that it's important to choose as much family as you can. You choose to protect your family. Choose to protect people that when you were born you had no relation to, but you found each other. There's nothing more important. Because when they didn't see Nikki the first time, they went ahead, spin the block, let's go back around, shot through. They do the same thing to us. They do the same thing to us all the time. You know, several years removed, but not a mile away from where George Floyd died. And what happened then? We marched, we protested, we begged, worked as much as we could for some sort of change, and then several years later, they spin the block, right? They took, and they'll take as much as they can, take as much as you let them. And look, there are people, right? There are people who will never see your side of things. There are people who are not working for you. They work for whatever corporation funds them. They work for whatever lobbyist gives them the most money. But the people that you vote for, the people that you put in power, it is important now more than ever that you stay on their neck. You stay on them. Because when things like this happen and there's this sort of like rhetoric around, you see how people feel one way or the other, and you see politicians try to do their spin. Obviously, there's a way that we expect everybody to fall, but it's important to remember that usually ICE funding is bipartisan. So you only control the people that you vote for, but you got to stay on them. You never let up. Being a public official should be a headache. You know, I genuinely, it depends on who it is, but I usually hate to see him smile. I'm like, why are you having a good day? Because you wonder, you see these videos of people just going about their life or trying to do the right thing, being violently met by ICE agents. There's always a narrative to fall back on later, even when the narrative is a lie, even when it gets disproven. There's always some sort of narrative to fall back on. And it makes you wonder, why would anybody even join up? Why would anybody join this thing? And then you see, it's like, okay, economically tough times, signing bonus, maybe I've been picked on my entire life and now I get a gun, maybe. They tell me that I run this area, I can go wherever I want, I can do whatever I want, finally have some power, and you see what they do with it. You watch what happened. And it's important to remember that you can choose family. You know? You can choose the people that you stick your neck out for. You can choose the people that you protect that mean as much to you as your own life. You can choose people. And it's important to keep making those choices daily. The stronger you make those choices, the stronger the bond is, the less that they have. Because remember, it's not as if ISIS is some sort of army or something. They actually have wildly low numbers. That's why they need the police to come back them up everywhere they go. That's why all it takes is being pelted with snowballs and they leave. It was snowballs. It was snowballs in Minnesota. Snowballs in Minnesota is basically the weather conditions. So that's. And so when you watch what happens, it's important that we as people take it upon ourselves as best as we can. As much as we can sacrifice, because everybody can't take on the same amount of burden. I understand that, but as much as you can do, you do it and you make a better world. That's the way forward, you know? This was not the first ICE-related shooting. This was not the first ICE-related death. And it's not just gonna go away. I think about those kids that are left behind now and how it's important that they be chosen as family to take them in. Because you watch that video, you watch everything that happened. You can watch people litigate all they want. But once again, you're talking about people who are arguing for the legality versus people who are arguing the morality, you know? They did what they did because they knew that they could. You know what I mean? And it's important that people left behind, like that child, those children, they become our responsibility. Because make no mistake, they took our sister. Do you see how a gang works?
Mira,